Hello and welcome to the Beef Edge, the Teagasc beef podcast for all your latest news, information and advice for Irish beef farmers. I'm Catherine Egan and this is the Grass10 update with Grass10 Manager John Maher with top tips for the month ahead. John, huge changes across the country since we spoke last. Can you give an update as to what's happening on farms currently across the country?
Well, yeah, huge changes is an understatement, I suppose, Catherine, in terms of grass supply. You have parts of the country, mainly northern, who are growing well above average, probably in surplus grass, right? And then you come down to the southern coast and like parts like Waterford, East Cork, parts of Wexford, South Kilkenny, and South Tipperary. I suppose I know those, they are, growth rate now wouldn't be high due to lack of rainfall, really. And concerning because there's not much rain forecasted. An odd place gets lucky that they get, these thunder showers, but, grass supply would be tight now. And we're in that time of year now in August where we should building going into the autumn. The grass plant changes from the reproductive stage into the vegetative phase. The animals are getting heavier. They eat more. So, it's a case of heads up now, or people will land themselves in trouble. Now, there's things we can do, of course, but which we'll come back to later. But if I was to give the average figures for pasture base, Catherine, would tell you that the days ahead are over 20 and the average farm cover is over 800. So from that point of view, there's no shortage of grass on average, but the variation within that is enormous. There's people who are exposed to, wind and sun down the south with low rainfall, and they will be struggling with grass supply. I suppose if I was to give you two quick figures that people can relate to very, very quickly on rainfall. I'm based in the south, and I suppose if I give a figure for Moore Park, they wouldn't have got 5 inches of rain over the last 3 months. And if we were to go to Athenry, they would have got 15 inches of rain over the last 3 months. Now, that's huge in terms of grass production.
Most definitely, John, and you can see it, particularly with the grass growth variation that you mentioned. What should the plan be now for the coming weeks of August and as we move into September for farms?
For those who are going well, they will build grass. They continue to grow more than they eat. Any paddock, to me, or field that's gone wrong in quality in that scenario, I might still make bales and take that opportunity to clean the paddock up as we go into the autumn. It's the middle of August. It's unless things are exceptional, it's really our last run of making bales for those who are in surplus grass or paddocks or fields are kind of gone wrong, and you've loads of grass. I might consider making bales out of that. To be honest, size supplies in 23, 24 were tight. 25 is different. I know that, but look, it might be no harm to put a bit of surplus of grass away, especially when you have a chance to do that, and there's a little bit more money around because it's not the cheapest thing to do, but it might be the right thing to do in terms of animal performance and grass performance. Other people can consider things like reseeding if they want. We're getting to 11th hour now. I don't deny that, but if you were to do it and do it fast, that would be okay. I think the weather will probably play ball for those do it in that scenario. Unfortunately, then for those who are in the south, and as a growing proportion, as I go into more Leinster counties like Kilkenny, Carlow, Wexford, I know they're starting to struggle. Kildare, right, Wicklow with grass growth because the rainfall hasn't really come, and it doesn't look like coming in the next week. You start have to taking action now. If you're lowly stocked and plenty grass, that's fine. If grass supply is not building, you have to ask yourself the questions, how can we make this happen? There are a number of tools available to you. We're on the farm of Peter Byrne next week. He's based in Castledermot in Kildare. He's a dry stock category winner of the Grassland Farm of the Year. Animals are going to come into the sheds to get fattened. So that's a trick that people can do to lower the stocking rate. Fertilizer has a big role to play here. You get a better response from fertilizer in application in August than you will in September. So I'll leave that thought with people, which will help boost supply when the rain comes. Sometimes you can, have size ground come back into you, and that will boost supply as well. It's a case really of, asking yourself, where are you at? And if you're behind, then you have to take action. And there's things you can do on the supply side, and there's things you can do to reduce the demand side. So it's really taking stock of where you're at. It's the middle of August. We still have plenty of time, but you'd want to be gaining in grass supply from now on.
I suppose that brings you to fertiliser, John. What advice do you have for farmers that will be applying the final round of fertiliser in the next few weeks before the September deadline?
Yeah, it's a good point, Catherine. The first thing you need to know is where you are at, right? We all know now there's a fertiliser register. We all know there's allowances there in terms of nitrogen and phosphorus. You need to know where you're at. That's the first thing. If you know where you're at, then that can tell you what you've left to apply. Some will have enough. Some might have spare. Some farmers, we know, Catherine, as you know, will be tight on supply now. So it's a case of making use of every nutrient on the farm. So I'll explain very quickly. If you were tight on fertiliser now, and we have, watery slurry, we have to play smart. If we have clover, we have to play smart. If paddocks are, have been grazed all season and not cut for silage, and there's a build-up of dung patch, we can play smart right there, So the best response to fertiliser will be reseeded paddocks with good soil fertility, paddocks cut for silage. That's where the best response will be if you're tight. But remember, clover can do something for you if you have it, both red or white. And if you have watery slurry, this can do things. And the water the slurry, the more nitrogen capture. Someone like me will say, Catherine, 20 to 30 units of nitrogen applied in August will give you a good response. To be honest, if you had more, I might split it, apply some now and apply some in early September. You'd probably help maximize response. So let's say you had 40, I might do 20 now and 20 in a few weeks' time. So yeah, but look, it's a case of first is what am I allowed? What have I left? Where will I apply it? And the way things are now, this is all it's getting a little bit more difficult, a little bit tighter. So in terms of allowances, so the first port of call is whoever is dealing with your fertiliser allowances or does your paperwork in relation to this, you need to know where you're at.
Most definitely, John. And finally, you touched on it there, Peter Byrne, the dry stock category winner of the Sustainable Grassland Farmer of the Year. He's hosting a walk next week, the 21st of August at 6:30 p.m.
Yeah, so Peter is a dairy captive beef farmer, exceptionally good at growing grass, good on the fertiliser and nutrient management side now, to be fair to him, has both red and white clover, will explain all this, has had great performance over the last 3 years, whether it's the grass side or the elm performance side. All that will be discussed on the night. We talked about fertiliser. Peter is sharp on this now, to be fair to him. Sharp on the soil fertility as well. I should say, Catherine, when we look at fertiliser allowances for nitrogen and phosphorus, they are tight. I don't deny that, and there's restrictions on them. But there's no restriction in K. And I suppose just a quick round number, Catherine, about half the grazing paddocks in the country are deficient in K on dry stock farms. If you want to get a better response from whatever fertiliser source you're using, especially the nitrogen side, the K has to be right. The lime has to be right. There's no restrictions on lime application or K application for the next 2 months. Further, you can apply it. I don't deny that, but it gets riskier with weather. So August, September are great times to catch up on potash and lime. There are products there like 0.50 or sulfate of potash, which have no nitrogen, no P, and you could apply them straight onto the farm. A half bag to the acre, of that stuff. Either of those will do an awful lot to help build K on the farm. And I think that's a point that we should keep in mind. We're getting to longer rotations now. There's opportunity to get lime out, and especially K or potash.
And this will be something that will be discussed next week on the farm of Peter Byrne. So regardless of enterprise, it's a well worth attending this walk, which is taking place the 21st of August at 6:30 p.m. in County Kildare. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Catherine.
Thanks, John. And if you missed a previous episode, tune in to Peter Byrne discussing his beef system in advance of his farm walk. Join us next week for your Beef Edge with future beef farmer Michael Biggins from County Mayo, who is hosting the National Future Beef Walk on the 3rd of September. Until next time, I'm Catherine Egan, and thanks for listening.